Let's get real for a minute. Most of the biggest changes in my life didn't come from some huge burst of motivation. They didn't come from a dramatic new year, new me moment. They came from tiny habits. The kind of habits you almost ignore. The ones that feel way too small to actually matter. If you've ever felt stuck, overwhelmed, or like you're trying really, really hard but nothing is changing, this video is for you. Because the problem isn't that you're lazy or that you lack willpower. The problem is that you're probably trying to change everything all at once. You're trying to climb a mountain in one giant leap, and that almost never works. Our brains are wired to resist massive change. It feels threatening. What actually works is changing things so small, so incrementally, that your brain doesn't even put up a fight. Let me show you exactly what I mean by sharing the tiny habits that rebuilt my life from the ground up. It all started with my mornings. I began by waking up just 30 minutes earlier. And no, not to be hyperproductive or to crush my goals before sunrise. I did it just to breathe. To have a moment of stillness before the day's chaos began. No rushing, no panic, just quiet. That one simple change made my entire morning feel calmer and more intentional. Then the very first thing I did was drink a full glass of water. Before I touched my phone, before I let my anxious thoughts take over, I drank water. I know, it sounds ridiculously boring, but it wakes up your brain and your body way faster and more effectively than scrolling through social media ever will. After that, I made my bed. Not because of some productivity guru who said it makes you successful. I did it because it's a small, tangible win right at the start of my day. And starting your day with a win, no matter how small, changes your entire mood. You've accomplished something before you've even left your bedroom. Then came the evenings. Before bed, I started planning my next day. It's nothing fancy or complicated. Just write down the few things that actually mattered. The one or two priorities that would move the needle. This meant I didn't wake up feeling confused or overwhelmed by a massive to-do list. I woke up with clarity. As part of that evening routine, I wrote down one single sentence of gratitude. Not a whole journal page, just one line. Some days, it was literally just, I survived today. And you know what? That was enough. It trained my brain to look for the good, even on the hardest days. I also committed to reading just 10 pages a day. And here's the key. I didn't read books I felt pressured to read. I read books that genuinely helped me feel less lost, more inspired, or just offered an escape. 10 pages is achievable, and it adds up to dozens of books a year. Next, I started with 5 minutes of meditation. And let me be honest, it was often messy. My mind would race. I'd get distracted, and sometimes I'd just sit there thinking about my to-do list. But that wasn't the point. The point was to become aware of how loud my mind really was. It was practice, not perfection. Every single morning, I wrote down my biggest goal. The same one. Over and over again. This wasn't about manifesting. It was about reminding myself what I was working toward, so I didn't get sidetracked by the small stuff. I started using positive affirmations even when I felt completely ridiculous saying them out loud. Things like, I am capable, or I handle stress with ease. Your subconscious brain is always listening. And the stories you tell it, day after day, eventually become your reality. Before falling asleep, I'd reflect on one win from the day. Even the tiniest ones, especially the tiny ones. I finally answered that email. I went for a walk. I was patient with myself. This practice retrains your brain to see progress instead of just focusing on your failures. Then I discovered the 2-minute rule, and it was a game changer. The rule is simple. If a task takes less than 2 minutes to complete, do it immediately. Putting away that dish, answering that text, hanging up your coat. This single habit eliminated so much of the mental clutter I was carrying around. Each morning, I set 3 micro goals, not a giant, intimidating to-do list. Just 3 achievable things that actually mattered for that day. This created focus and a sense of accomplishment rather than the constant feeling of being behind. I started using timers while I worked. We all know how time can stretch on forever when you don't have limits. But when you set a timer for 25 or 45 minutes, it creates a container for your focus. It's a signal to your brain. Now is the time to work, and soon there will be a time to rest. Every week, I cut out one digital distraction. One app I was mindlessly scrolling. One notification that was always pulling my attention. One digital habit that was draining my energy instead of fueling it. Bit by bit, I reclaimed my focus. I also started to declutter one thing a day. It could be one file on my computer, one shirt I never wear, one messy drawer, or even just one negative thought pattern I was ready to let go of. The physical and mental space this created was incredible. To combat the stress my body was holding on to, I made a rule to stretch for 2 minutes every hour. Your body holds stress so quietly until one day it doesn't. A quick neck roll, a shoulder stretch hit releases tension you didn't even know you were carrying. Along with that, I started standing up for 10 minutes every hour. Energy isn't just about how much coffee you drink. It's about movement. Getting your blood flowing breaks up the fatigue and brings new life to your brain. I made it a non-negotiable to step outside every single day, even if it was just for 10 minutes. Sunlight does more for your mood and energy than motivation ever will. It resets your internal clock and gives you a vital dose of vitamin D. I started to limit sugar. Not perfectly, and I didn't cut it out completely. I just aimed for a little less each day. And you know what happened? Those brutal afternoon energy crashes started to disappear. I also stopped using screens for at least 30 minutes before bed. I wasn't perfect at this either, but the more often I did it, the faster my sleep quality improved. My brain finally had a chance to wind down. This next one was hard, but crucial. I learned to say no, not aggressively or rudely, but honestly and firmly. Thank you for the offer, but I don't have the capacity for that right now. Protecting your energy is a habit, and it's one of the most important ones you can build. I challenged myself to compliment one person a day. It could be a stranger or a friend. Not only did it make them feel good, but it somehow lifted my own spirits, too. It shifts your focus from inward to outward. Every week, I unfollowed one negative influence online. Sometimes it was an account that made me feel bad about myself. Sometimes it was just content that fueled my anxiety. You are in control of what you consume. A simple one. I smiled more, even when I didn't feel like it. It's a strange trick, but your body can actually teach your brain emotions. The physical act of smiling can genuinely improve your mood. I learned to celebrate progress, not perfection. If I aimed for 5 workouts and only did 3, I celebrated the 3. Perfection is the enemy of consistency. Progress is what matters. I consciously limited my news intake. Being informed is important, but being constantly overwhelmed by a 24/7 cycle of bad news is not. I chose specific times to check in, and then I let it go. I added 1 extra vegetable to 1 meal a day. This wasn't a diet overhaul. It was just one small, better choice. That's it. It's an easy win that improves your health over time. I learned 1 new word every day. It might seem silly, but it was a tiny reminder that I was still growing, still learning, and that my brain wasn't fixed. When I felt stress or anxiety rising, I'd stop and take 5 deep breaths. It doesn't fix the problem, but it calms your nervous system down enough so you can think clearly and respond instead of reacting. And finally, once a week, I would reflect. What habits worked this week? What didn't? What can I adjust? This process of review and adjustment is what makes the system sustainable. Look, none of these habits changed my life overnight. Not a single one. But together, it's all these tiny, almost insignificant actions stacked on top of each other, day after day. They changed how I felt. They changed how I thought. They changed how I showed up in the world. And that's the real secret. You don't rise to the level of your goals or your motivation. You fall to the level of your systems, quiet systems, tiny habits, done consistently. So please, don't try to do all 30 of these things at once. That would defeat the entire purpose. Just try one. Pick the one that feels easiest, the one that resonates the most with you. Start tonight, or start tomorrow morning. Build on it, and just keep going. If this helped, save this video for a day when you feel lost. You've got this. Let's level up together. Thanks for watching.